I had a dream just now, and between the two families, my family, and they were still a family, but I'm not sure which wife it was, quite honestly. And they were my children, I think, and their children. And they were very good, this other family, to us. They were like a family that has helped me a lot since my most recent marriage broke up. 7 years ago. They've been good, wonderful support. They're Christian, they're fundamentalist. Not too heavy, because they're very loving, both of them. This will be a bit disjointed, this recording, because I'm just collecting ideas and feelings. And I felt overwhelmingly just now, and wanted to say on the recording, it's a terrible thing when a family is divided by not loving. A lack of love, at least one way, or perhaps both ways, but between the two parents. Whatever the difficulty is the children have, I mean, one of my children felt they were too small, and I didn't realise that being small was just lovable. Just hated being too small. Could have been seen as a great blessing, but they didn't see it that way, and, well, in a sense, made them bitter. Not helped by the fact that, well, at least one way, one of the parents didn't love the other. During the bulk of their childhood. Did before, but not during their childhood. In my case, as a child, it was a blessing, because Mum loved me all the more, and I was very close to Mum. Even though she was especially the one that was doing the hating. I don't think Dad hated. Could have done as a response to her hatred of him. So sad when people don't love each other. It's a nightmare for the children, I think. It was a nightmare for me, even though Mum loved me. I had a garden in the dream. It was made up of lots of little gardens. Oh, and it had a large pond. Almost a lake. No, a large pond. Almost natural. The water was so clear. I was amazed how clear the water was. You could see right into it. Couldn't see the fish. But I knew there were fish in there, though. The garden was made up of lots of little gardens. It wasn't a very big garden anyway, so very size. Did love the garden. I was imagining making little ponds in each of the gardens that it was made up of. We were out in the van, my Toyota Grandvia. I was somewhere at the back of the tailgate and it started to move, and the two families were in the van, and the husband, who was in the front passenger seat, amazingly managed to get across to the driver's side and take control of the vehicle. It may have been symbolic of what I felt between the two families, that the other family was able to come to the rescue in the dream. And then afterwards we were reviewing. I had it on film somehow, some of the earlier experiences between the two families. And the children were watching and they could see themselves at a younger age. And I had their full attention. It was a great blessing to them seeing. I mean, I wasn't actually running a film, but they were seeing. I mean, we weren't sitting watching a film, we were experiencing, seeing visually certain instances in their younger days. And I realised what a lovely blessing this had been, which for some reason wouldn't have come about except for the way the husband of the other family had managed to control the van when it was just suddenly moving of itself. We couldn't work out why the van was moving, but anyway, he got to the driving seat and controlled it. There must have been other events in this cacophony of sort of dreams that I had just now. But what drove me to make this recording was the incredible presence of burden, when one partner doesn't love one of the other. And when difficulties, instead of being understood as a blessing, are understood as a curse. And instead of the child growing up wonderfully, they grow up spiritually severely handicapped. I don't think God was really, I wasn't really conscious of God in the dream. More conscious of the goodness of the families, the love of the children, the needs. And the blessing it was to know this and be part of with this other family, our two families together. There wasn't much handicap to me in the dream of the fact my wife wasn't loving me. But I felt it terribly for the children. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to bring this account to you as a blessing to you, the listener. I wasn't too unhappy in the dream because, well, looking back on it, I think because, God was making the situation always good because of this other family. We knew we were dysfunctional compared to them, but their functionality, their completeness, somehow made our dysfunctional side okay. Not wonderful, but okay. I'm thinking very much in my non-dreaming state of a family with a couple of kids who are close to my little girl. They've been such a blessing to me, to us. My ex-wife and Kitty don't really realise what a blessing they've been, but I do. I thank you, Heavenly Father, for every difficulty in life, because somehow you've given me a desire to trust you for them. I don't know how to encourage others to be likewise so assured in their difficulties. But I do know it's wonderful if they can be. And as you know, I encourage this by saying, if you thank God for the difficulties, in a quite miraculous way, many of the difficulties you find pass away, but not necessarily. Some of the fundamental ones may still be there. It's just that their fundamental presence doesn't seem to be such a burden. Because of your determination to thank God for the difficulty. And indeed, in my case, it's been my absolute survival through problems, major problems, disaster of marriage failing, and resulted in me, not at this precise moment, you understand, being fine, happy, full, never closer to God, and in many ways never happier, although I've been incredibly happy when I've been with a partner that loves me and I love them. But this is a different happiness, in that it's a happiness even in difficulties, as opposed to when everything's sunny and wonderful, you know. I'm now flying much of the time even though in worldly terms you would say he's in great difficulties in his life. Well, I'm single now and my children are not close to me. But my awareness of God is. And it makes all the difference in the universe. So I found that the difficulties have brought me to loving God. Where some people seem to find difficulties make them more and more secular. That God takes no place in their consciousness, really. And things seem to get bitter and twisted. I don't know what makes the difference, and I don't know why God allows many difficulties to go on for people. There's a great desire in us to sweep in and sweep away all the difficulties. Hey, something different. I had something lovely yesterday. I was driving along in my town of Hamilton and I saw a lady, middle-aged, or a bit younger than middle-aged, not quite, but a bit, carrying several bags. They could have been sort of carrier black bags, I'm not sure. Several of them laced around her arms, like three, the sort of size of a large carrier bag, really full of something. I wasn't sure of the weight, but I thought, she's got too much to carry and she's walking. It was an urban area, fairly tough area of town. And I wanted to help her, so I did a U-turn, called from across the road, amidst the traffic. Oh, you got to go far? She said, well, quite a way. I said, can I give you a lift? Oh, that would be helpful. And she came across. Lovely, you see, she didn't see me as a threat. It's such a relief when a woman does not see me as a threat. I'm such a tall man and older. And some women are so... Oh, they must have had bad experiences with men, I don't know. You know, they can freeze on you when you go to bless them and care for them. Well, this one didn't. She responded well and put her things automatically on the back seat and sat in the front, and I wasn't going to resist her sitting in the front and say, I'll sit in the back. Because I could see she was happy to be given a lift by me. And I had the most blessed few minutes driving her. She'd have had to walk over a mile, about 2.5 kilometres. I measured it afterwards, the distance. Her car had been written off. I know something broken in the engine, and in the engine I gather. And they're obviously not well off. And she'd been to the food bank, and she said, well, the lodger who's now left without paying the rent, and no, it's only 1 week owing $150, but it's the food money, so I think they'd literally been low on food for a day or two, I'm not sure. I just knew I was the right person at the right time, in the right place, by the grace of God. And of course I'm fully armed. I gave her my card that has on it the YouTube reference so she could listen to recordings that might, I hope, be such a blessing to her. I took her to a house, tiny house, semi-detached, condominium I think they call them in New Zealand, but semi-detached we'd call it in the UK. They're single story. Oh, I think it was single stories. No, it might have been 2 stories. No, I think it was single. I think husband was at work or something. He wasn't there anyway. And I didn't see any children. Don't know where they were. Saw the dog. Friendly dog. Medium sized. Yeah, friendly dog. Good dog. Oh, it's the knight in shining armour. I only had a few $10 on me. I gave her that. But it was giving the lift that counted. And my care of her, and she said, please something like, do you have PJs or something? Of course I don't now. She said, I'll make Feijoa bread, I'll make you some. And she's promised to do that. But you see, everything fitted wonderfully. Because my card's got my contact, so she can phone me when she makes the bread. Or I could pop round. I just felt I was blessing her. She felt I was blessing her. You just feel you're the love of God at the right time. And the feeling of that is absolutely wonderful. To be a blessing. Of course, I would turn around every difficulty God is allowing and blessing people with, because I only see the difficulty, I don't see the blessing. And we want to sweep in as the wonderful person to rescue and help and bless. So really God is blessing with the difficulty, it's just that, well, we're children and He's God. He knows best and we don't. But He loves the way we want to care. That's what matters to Him. And it's this in you that qualifies you as being ready now for heaven. You should remember that. It's the love in you, the desire to bless and care. Not your theology, not your abilities, your love and your kindness. That is the measure of your spiritual maturity. That is your evidence that the kingdom of heaven has come unto you. You're very near to being an adult. Wow. You're a most beautiful child. Your beauty is your love and kindness. It will never be taken away from you. Jesus' story says it in terms of whosoever gives even, a cup of water to my little ones shall not lose his reward. And that's an incredible understatement. What he means by that is bless you with the fullness of life and love, eternal. Thank you, Dad, for all the difficulties of life, all the things we see as blessing and all the things we don't see as blessing. Thank you for your love in us that drives us into your eternal embrace. Love you, Dad. Love you. Thank you so much for your love. Our Heavenly Dad, we thank you for all your love. Thank you, Dad. You see, the sadnesses of my life, whether it was my childhood, the battles going on between Mum and Dad, and being an only child, I think, and the illnesses, difficulties at school, and the difficulties of life. 3 broken marriages, would you believe? None of them by my intention. Well, I accepted defeat in the end, but hung on like grim death. A bit too grim, really, hanging on. Don't know. Did what I thought was best at the time. Great burden, great difficulties, but tremendous love. That's been the major feature of my life. And it's driven me into the arms of God and been a wonderful blessing, so that I may sound very sad at the moment and disjointed, but most of the time now I'm flying. I can't believe how God gives me such wonderful days without a partner. That amazes me. My wonderful times have always been associated with having someone that loved me, whether it was Mum, or of course being rescued, I suppose, by Mrs. Short as a baby. I can't remember it, of course. Thank goodness. I mean, the difficulty that caused her to rescue me. Where was I? Yes, the best times have always been in the strongest of love times, whether it was Mum or the 3 wives, or others that have loved me too. Oh my goodness! And they were all women, of course, but I had good friends that were fellas too, just faithful friends, and ones that just bless. Whether it was at school, childhood times, or in adult times. And I still have that. Always got 2, 3 or 4 very significant people blessing and helping me. Being so significantly valued to me. Absolute blessing. I'm now experiencing incredible blessing each day in following God. Don't get me wrong, I've been following God since I was about 24, half a century. But it's dramatically intensified since I've been on my own, as it were, from the point of view of marriage. And of course I'm retired. In some ways that helps. My time is my own. I can let my relationship with God major in what I'm doing. And life is, I'm not feeling quite wonderful at the moment, but I know it is wonderful so much of the time now. It's interesting to review it from just because of the dreams. I feel flat at the moment, as you can tell. And I'm possibly not the blessing I want to be to you, but to say to you, it's the love of God that you need for eternity. And then the relationships, whether they're good or bad around you, are still a blessing. And that amazes you because, you know, even those people that are not loving you seem to, might actually be definitely not loving you, but they're what might otherwise seem to be so hostile. What they are, hostile reactions, are still a blessing. It's as if they keep doing things to confound themselves that fit with God blessing your life, regardless of their intention. And that's a surprise, I can tell you. You know, they keep insisting and imposing things on you that fit perfectly into the way God's loving you and what he has for you today and to do and to be and to spend your time. Your happiness, you see, turns on the fact that God loves you. He just does. And as you come to notice this, well, you're flying. It's the love of God, your love for him and his love for you, and his love in you to others, and his love in them to you. That's everything. Peace and joy and hope, all goodness and all blessing, the love of God. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Heavenly Dad, thank you for all your love. Thank you, Dad.